Welcome to the listeners to the NCR podcast.
Julie and Dani, welcome to the NCR podcast. We're live.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's how we do it. Just jump right into it.
I love it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
No problem. I was trying to rush to get all the stuff set up because you guys were having an awesome conversation and I just wanted it to be recorded. Let's continue that.
I forget what we were talking about.
We're talking about the level ones.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and how you manage to balance that. Like
Yes.
I do the level ones too, but I feel like it's a little bit easier for me to balance my level one job with my gym job because it's kind of the same thing throughout the week.
Same
Like
but different,
if I'm
yeah.
studying for the level one, I'm kind of studying for my weekday job too, you know, whereas you, it's like almost totally separate.
A little bit, yeah. I started on staff in 2013, and we were just talking about how my work with the seminars has been very sporadic depending on what stage of medical training I was in. So at times I would work more frequently during med school, and then I kind of took a break during the intense periods of med school and during my intern year of residency. And then when we started doing these MDL ones is when I started trying to come to almost every single MDL one or as many as I could, because I just feel like for me being in the medical field, it's so amazing to be able to share my passion for CrossFit with all of these physicians that I know I have sort of a connection with just based on the career that we have. So it's been fun trying to do it during residency because California is far from Cleveland and I don't have many. It's hard for me to take extra days off here and there. We get a few PTO days, but we basically have our travel schedule down so that we work on Friday, we leave. And because of the time change, it's okay coming here. Like we left at like 7:30 on Friday and we got here at like 9:30, which was great.
Yeah, that's
and then it works out well as long as the flights aren't delayed or canceled. And then on the way back, we just take a red eye back Sunday night.
Oh man, the old red eye.
Yeah,
I
but
hate
they
the red
canceled
eye.
our direct flight. So now we have to connect. So it's a little bit more sketchy, but we'll make it work.
Right.
And do you come to every MDL one that she comes to?
If there's a DDC, I try to make it to every single one. Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's just kind of like a little reunion for all the other docs. So, I mean, the lectures are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're amazing, but really, just like anything else in CrossFit, it's all about the community. So
Yeah, exactly.
being able to just hang out with everyone is awesome.
Yeah. And so maybe we should give you a little bit of a more lengthy introduction. I feel like everyone knows everyone knows who Julie is. Dani is Julie's husband.
This is true.
The better half.
Is this how everyone knows you? Everyone's like, oh, you're Julie's husband.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's okay. That's
But
great.
you were also
Games
a
athlete
games
as well,
athlete, right?
Sort
You
of.
was?
Yeah.
Yes, you were. You competed
Yeah.
in the CrossFit
Yeah.
I did.
Games.
I did compete in the CrossFit Games back in 2011 on a team,
An
which
OG.
was back in the day.
You were doing so what you're saying is you were doing team before it was cool to do team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. Before all the super teams and
Exactly.
before they got all that hype, I did it for
You paved the
right
way.
reasons. Yeah,
and you paved the way for them, right?
for future generations.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's awesome. What team was that? Were
It was
you on
Hyperfit USA.
that? Were you on that team?
I was not. No,
Who was on the team?
2011.
So it was my buddy Johnny, who we kind of started CrossFit around the same time. And
Kind of the three of us all trained together pretty much
Okay.
ever since we started.
He was
in
a Navy.
Michigan.
He is a Navy pilot. So it was kind of an interesting situation because at that point we had to qualify at regionals, and Johnny was able to join us at the regionals, and then unfortunately he couldn't get leave.
Okay.
So we didn't have him for the games, so that was a bummer. And then we had a couple other folks from our local gym that were on our team as well, which was which was cool.
How'd you guys do?
But at that time, even the rules weren't as strict. So
They
like you were
weren't.
living in Cleveland, but you were still on the team in Michigan because you
Right.
still traveled back and forth.
Right. I would
enough.
spend the majority of my time training at
It's like
Hyperfit.
50% of your time,
Yeah.
and you had
Oh
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had to get up like my little logbook and be like,
That's
all right,
right.
I'm
But
training
it wasn't
here.
nearly as strict as
No, it
nowadays.
wasn't.
Like no one was
Yeah.
really checking.
Or you
that
always
stuff.
had to take. I remember because even in 2014, when I was on a team, I went to regionals on a team in 2014, and we were thinking about, getting someone from another city, and they're like, okay, well, if you do that, you got to make sure that we all take pictures at the whiteboard every single
Yep.
time that we train
Yep.
together, just
Yeah.
to make sure that we log that and make
Yeah.
sure, in case
Yeah.
someone asks. So
It's true.
That's cool.
It's true. Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, I'll never forget being out there. So everyone talks about like the tennis stadium as being like this really special thing. I obviously never had the opportunity to do like the under the lights thing.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't an individual, but just being there it was probably one of my most significant memories
that's awesome.
out there. So it was fun. I was very blessed to have that opportunity.
I think it's cool that you guys are now on the CrossFit Health side. You guys are both doctors.
Yeah.
And you started your life in CrossFit as athletes, and you kind of went the competitive way. I was just talking about this with Paul the other day. It was like, even him and myself, like we and Jen too, we started it because we thought it was a cool sport. We're like, wow, this is really cool. I want to do this. Oh, the games exist. Like, let's chase that a little bit. Let's, this is really fun to compete against people. And then you sort of grow into it and mature in a sense. I don't even know if CrossFit knew I guess Greg always knew what he had.
Right.
I mean, he's smarter than all of us, but like, you get the sense that CrossFit didn't know what they had at the time, and we almost matured with it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And now it's in a place where, they're pushing so much the health side. Sometimes I like to reminisce and reconnect with people like you guys, just so that people understand that it doesn't have to be two separate things.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's kind of, it's coming full circle because we started, well, I don't know if you necessarily started this way, but I started mainly as a way to get in shape. Like I was in college. I didn't have my high school sports anymore. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I wanted to be active and fit. And that's why I started. I didn't really think about competing until, a few months later.
Right.
It wasn't too long, but really, and I think that's the biggest impact that it had on me initially was just how much of an impact it had on my self-confidence, on my relationship with my body, all these things, especially for women that I was struggling with in college as I was kind of transitioning out of my sports. And that's where it had the biggest impact on me. And so the competition was sort of a secondary thing.
Yeah. And I think too is that some people get lost in the idea of competition and what it really is it's just a way to push yourself. Like if we always talk about scaling and everyone just pushing themselves to their own threshold and trying to, achieve a new goal in CrossFit, which it's so easy because there's so many different things that we suck at. And competition is just another way for someone to try and take that next step in their journey, right? It's like just not being stagnant. At one point, you're going to have to go and take yourself outside your comfort zone and maybe compete against some people at your local competition or if it's the CrossFit Games like you guys or whatever.
Yeah. I think the thing that's really special about competition is that, we always say that we train for life and life is unpredictable. But I think, the way most of the competitions are done is there's some degree of unpredictability, and it allows us to really emulate what real life would be like. So, lifting weird objects or not knowing what's going to come next. It kind of, every time you do a competition, it emulates that kind of real life experience. So you get this opportunity to actually apply your fitness in an unpredictable way that allows you to really become better for life.
Yeah.
So I think competition itself is training for life. It's not just training in the gym.
Or even if it's not physically similar, mentally it's very similar.
Totally.
Like, you guys can talk about medical school. I'm sure that has its surprises, and challenges mentally from day to day, week to week, month to month. Yeah. I'm sure aspects of like competition or even just, for someone doing CrossFit every day in the gym, like that's going to help them prepare a little bit better for, a challenging thing like medical school.
Yeah. I think, I always say that training at the level of training for the CrossFit Games, it's almost like you're on the fast track to learning a lot of these life lessons that everyone learns in the gym, but you're just doing, because you're doing so much more volume and you're getting more exposure, and under pressure in these competition settings, you learn them faster.
Right.
But I think
it's like the Matrix.
Right. So many times I think now, especially as we're getting into the health kind of spectrum, I think it's easy. We have to recognize like the role of competition, and it is important for everyone because it's getting outside your comfort zone and it's pushing yourself in a way that's uncomfortable. And that's important because I think so many times people can say, oh, I'm just doing this for health and I'm just going to pace myself and take my time and whatever. And that's good sometimes, and we need that. Yeah. But there's something to be said about putting yourself outside of your comfort zone and doing something that you're afraid of. And I think you made a post about the open today where a lot of people may say, oh, I don't want to do the open because it's too much pressure or it's too much anxiety or this or that. And I was telling Dani as we got out of the car, seeing people doing the open workout, like, oh, just the thought of doing that again gives me palpitations. But somehow I like tricked myself into going to the gym Friday morning. I did it. It was terrifying. I did it and I feel better. And, you know, we don't do that sort of thing on a day-to-day basis because we're humans and we'd rather be comfortable. But things like the open or things like even just walking in the gym and seeing a workout that scares you is what helps us all to grow. Yeah.
That's such a good point because I think that right now, just what I'm seeing in CrossFit, there's people who are kind of in two different camps, those who think like competition is a necessary thing and those who don't. And I think I obviously share the same opinion as you, but it's such a vital component, I think, of growth.
But finding the balance, right? Because it can't be all competition.
Right, exactly. That's true too.
Yeah. But like you said, it so transfers to daily life when you something at work or something in your family life that you don't want to deal with, that you'd rather just walk away from. Well, no, in class every day you face the wall, you don't leave, and you do and get through it.
It's like it's about kind of staying mentally in control too. I think that's the way I think it applies to medical training. Like, you're going to get overwhelmed. Actually, it applies to anything in life, right? At work, you're going to feel overwhelmed during a workout. You're going to be like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is horrible. But staying in it, that applies directly to real life.
Yeah. Persevering.
Yeah,
exactly. So, it makes me think of our in-house competition every year we have on the day that we have the Christmas party at our gym. Is we do our in-house competition, and that's our opportunity to sort of like introduce a lot of our members to the competition setting. And for not most of them, because a lot of them do it annually, but for many of them, it's their first time doing a competition, and they love it.
That's awesome.
They walk away from it, they're like, oh my God, I can't wait for next year. It's so good. And then so I try to ride that wave and like
all year long.
Now the Open's coming soon. But, but now the Open's going to be like
beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. So it was tougher getting people to sign up this year, but oh well.
It's
and there's nothing better than seeing like that person who's usually quiet in class or something, and then they do the in-house competition, and then there's like fire in their eyes.
Light up.
Yeah. That was inside of you.
Yeah.
They didn't even know it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about SteadyMD.
Sure.
Let's start by you just explaining what it is.
Sure.
For someone like me who's not in.
Yeah,
exactly. Like someone from Canada.
Yeah, where your healthcare system is much better.
Yeah, who's not a doctor.
In some ways.
Yeah, it's true.
Who's from Canada and not a doctor. How would you explain SteadyMD?
Yeah, so the way it works in the United States is that, you have your insurance, and then there's certain doctors that are under your insurance plan, and those are the ones that you're able to see. But because of the way the system is right now, it takes a really long time to be able to get in with your doctor. So it can take several months, or actually even half a year to establish care with somebody. And then once you see them and you're ill, it might take like 2 or 3 weeks to even get in with them. So if you've got an acute issue, it's kind of pointless. So unfortunately what happens is that people go to urgent cares or ERs for their care. And then once you get in...
That's not far off from what happens in Canada.
Yeah, we have a lot of different models, but I would say the majority of people are stuck in that situation.
In the same situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so it's hard to like develop a relationship.
Yeah, so it's
and
really
do any preventative health.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you get in, then oftentimes the docs aren't aligned, especially if you're kind of a CrossFitter. They don't kind of speak the same language, that kind of thing. Yeah. So SteadyMD grew out of that kind of frustration, and they wanted to develop a platform where you can find a doctor that shares a similar kind of framework or a worldview or thought process or engages in a similar activity. So it's a completely virtual primary care clinic, essentially. And I'm in charge of running kind of the functional fitness component of it. And what we do is people pay like a monthly subscription fee, just like at a gym. And then they get access to a physician kind of 24/7 for urgent care, primary care needs. Now there are certain limitations where, you can't do physical exam, but honestly, most of the things we're able to handle,
that's really cool.
virtually.
I went on the website. There's just little, it looks like when you go to the, I forget what the title of it is, but it's, it's like a coach's page. It looks like, but it's all the doctors and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's little headshots of everyone.
Yeah.
And their names. And then it's like, so-and-so is a power lifter. And then the next one, so-and-so is functional fitness. So I think it says CrossFit for you.
It says functional fitness. Because we got to be careful with that.
That's right. And then, the list goes on, triathlete, et cetera. And so like, if I subscribe, do I get to pick the one I like? Or
so it's awesome.
Assigned?
So we have this really cool quiz now where you can select kind of characteristics about yourself and then characteristics of the doctor that you want. So it's much more than just activities like, are you a mom? Are you a dad? Do you have kids? Do you like hiking? Lifestyle kind of factors, which are really, really neat. And then it matches you with kind of 3 doctors that have licenses in your state. And then you can kind of choose and do your 1-hour onboarding appointment, which is really nice.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
And so basically, but you get to hoard all the CrossFitters.
You get.
Well, I think they find me through the quiz. And then, well, I mean, the thing is, to be fair, I mean, I was the first kind of functional fitness doc there. So, I mean, a lot of
there's more now.
Pictures and marketing. Yeah, there's definitely more, and they're all amazing. I mean,
actually, some of them have come through the MDL1.
Yeah.
And that's,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they're all top notch and awesome.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's not just me.
That's really cool. That's really sweet.
Very cool.
I mean, I imagine it sounds like anyone who lives a healthy lifestyle would be attracted to this just because of the nature of the doctors themselves who are working for the company. Like, do you guys even talk to your patients?
Yeah, no, we do. Well, this is the beauty of it, because it really reframes what primary care is, right? Instead of like just going if you're ill, we do. Honestly, I think probably 60% of what I do is actually health coaching, but it's like a deeper version of health coaching, because we can actually interpret labs and look at things. Right. So even if somebody is well, we can kind of tweak things a little bit to make sure that they don't become ill in the future. Right. And honestly, even though people are doing CrossFit, I mean, my average, patient age is probably something like, early 40s, late 40s, that kind of thing. When things start to creep up that weren't an issue when they were really fit and active, they could kind of counterbalance that. But now they're starting to develop high blood pressure, signs of insulin resistance through a lipid panel. And they might have not even noticed that. And when we take a closer look, we can say, hey, these are some early indicators of what life might be like in about 20 years. Why don't let's kind of point that boat in another direction so we don't have to deal with it.
That's so cool.
And that's what I see kind of really the role of primary care. It's not runny noses and coughs. It's like, let's catch things early. If something's acute, we'll handle it. We'll kind of get the support of other specialists, but it's really about promoting a healthy lifestyle and catching things early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You guys on that same level? Do you guys agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that our healthcare system is more reactive. We all know this. It more focuses on fixing acute problems. It's really good at that. But if we had a system that was better at creating health, which is something we don't really learn about in medical school at all, then we would be able to avoid a lot of the chronic disease, which is causing most of the sickness in our country.
Imagine it was required that every doctor had to take their CrossFit level 1.
That would be so cool.
That would be amazing. I mean, that
I think we all agree.
Yeah. Or some variation there. I mean, really, what is the CrossFit level 1?
Incorporated into
the CrossFit level 1 is how to make a healthy human, how to keep a healthy human alive, and like how to promote
functional,
that. Functional. Like that's really what the MD level 1 is. If you really distill it down to its essence, and by that logic, it should absolutely be required in every medical school.
It's so simple. Like, I mean, I'm totally biased, but I feel like everyone in the world should take the course.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just it's laid out in such simple terms, and it's easy to understand, and it's just like basic tools to survive your life.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, we are in this community all the time, and so it seems like obvious knowledge, but I'm sure you've experienced too, Jen, like when you start working with patients, how little a lot of people know about this stuff. It's amazing. And so if we were able to even just educate everyone on some of these basics, what an impact that would have on our health.
Yeah. And it's the little things too that make such a huge impact too. Just if you can just share a tiny piece of that, like 5 minutes from any of the lectures in the MD level 1 or the level 1, that's going to have a huge impact on the general population. So it's just
and its simplicity makes it accessible to like any educational level, any social status. Like you can understand it. And I know my boss actually has started doing some personal training at our CrossFit gym. And so now she sees there's a 65 plus class at the gym called the Prime Timers. And now she's seen firsthand like how accessible it is to any age group. And it's really cool because that's kind of like trickled into our clinic now, and she recommends it more to patients.
Amazing.
And I got her on with like the CrossFit YouTube movement videos, like yours and James's, but also the ones in the home setting, showing those to patients now. And it's awesome to see. Like some patients come back and they're like, I'm doing the sit to stands. I'm doing this.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's super cool. It's super applicable to everyone.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're in your last year of residency. Okay, and so it's time to start thinking of like what's on the horizon, right? Wait, first of all, is last year of residency easier than the other years?
I would say for us, so our residency is 3 years. I would say the second and third year are pretty comparable. There's like some pluses and minuses of each. I think in general, the third year is probably best just because you're starting to get more comfortable and you've been doing it for longer, but there's still there's still like things that are not exactly the most fun, but overall it's not so bad.
So I mean, you guys must be talking now about how you can join forces and like rule the world in the CrossFit community, right? Like what's coming up? Like what's on the horizon? What have you guys been talking about? What do you want to do? So our big goal is eventually to open a practice together and to combine what we have been learning through CrossFit and what we've learned through our medical training and really start to bridge that gap between the gym and then the medical clinic or the medical system. So we're brainstorming, we're in the early planning stages of that. So stay tuned. That's cool. I feel like that's kind of like where we're at too. Maybe
similar
dream. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
We'll keep in touch.
It's such an exciting time, I think.
It is.
In the CrossFit space, and like for us, I mean, I think we're at a turning point, really, as you know, for CrossFit as a community, but for the CrossFit Health movement too. It's so exciting. Right.
We're starting to see some of these more and more clinics pop up that are working closely with gyms. We're seeing people try a lot of different models for how this might work. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see over the next few years, like what are all the ways that we can do this and what works depending on what your community needs.
Absolutely.
So. It's so cool. It's like the affiliate kind of mindset, right? Like Greg always said, you know, you guys run it how you want. The best practices will spread eventually. It's kind of the same kind of logic for this partnership or this integration between health and CrossFit. It's awesome.
Is your office in a CrossFit gym?
It is, yeah.
So like explain them how that setup works. Like what?
Yeah, so like I said, I work for a company called SteadyMD, and majority of what I do is virtual. So I have kind of an office, but it still has kind of like a regular setup because I have some patients on the SteadyMD platform that are local. So I'll just kind of see them in person.
Like a regular doctor's office.
Like a regular doctor's office.
Well, it's not really like a regular. It's like a couch and a little setup.
Okay, yeah. So
you have a table if you need it, but it's much more comfortable.
It's much more comfortable. Yeah. When I think regular doctor's office,
psychiatrist's office.
Yes, exactly. It's nice. It's comfortable. It's not.
It's got leather couches.
Yeah. Okay. It's not anything like your traditional
barbells dropping in the background.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
That's great.
No, but it's great because, anyone that comes to see me in person, you know, has to walk through the gym first, and they kind of see that.
I love
which
that.
is really exciting.
That's really sweet. So it's in the back.
It's kind of off to the side, but it's definitely part of it.
That's awesome.
And they have also a physical therapist in the gym too. So it's like it started because Dani started working from home and then realized very quickly that was not going to be a good situation because I would come home and he'd be like, "Let's get out of the house."
So I'm obviously not an introvert, so I was going crazy.
He needs to be around people.
Yeah, I just need to get.
That's like me. I'm the same.
It was not good.
So it's been great for him to be at the gym because when he's in between patients, he can like stop out and talk to people in the gym or
stretch or
ride the bike for a minute. And so it's been a really good setup.
It was so nice.
Yeah, glad that he's been able to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the patient will come in, and you've got patients who've never seen a CrossFit gym before.
Usually they're CrossFitters.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's
if
right.
If he's seeing you in person.
Yeah, if they're seeing me in person. Yeah.
Because they've gone out and reached out for the functional fitness doctor.
Right.
That makes sense.
But it's a totally different vibe, right? I mean, you can see it. They're immediately comfortable. They're like, oh, this is just like a home.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. Like,
so you rip wads on lunch break and stuff?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Love the noon class. Love my nooners. Yeah.
That's
Do the
awesome.
nooner.
That is the dream.
That's so awesome.
It's so great.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I mean, the thing is too, I mean, you can really practice what you preach, right? So like you don't sit for like 8 hours. You like get up, you ride the bike for 5 minutes, then you go back and do some more work, and then you work for another half hour, and then do some stretching. So you stay moving the entire day. Yeah. And honestly, it's a huge impact on how you engage with patients and how you think. Like, honestly, makes you smarter to move throughout the day. I'm like 100% convinced of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it does. I mean, they've done studies on kids.
Yeah.
And in the CrossFit Kids program, like they preach that. They say, in the perfect CrossFit gym, in terms of like a kids and a teens program, they're going to come in, you're going to have like a small classroom off to the side. They're going to do their workout, and then they're immediately going to go into the classroom. They're going to do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So we encourage that too at our gym. Like with the teens, we're like, hey guys, do the class, and then you guys can hang out in the lobby on the couches, and you guys can do homework together for like 20 minutes after.
I
awesome.
purposely schedule my most difficult patients right after the workout.
Really?
No, because
That's
I'm
smart.
like on fire. Like I can just like, I'm thinking at like 3 times the speed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yep.
I love it. Okay, cool. So, so have you ever been asked your own 3 questions?
I think I have.
Oh, that's a good
I can't
question.
remember,
That's so good.
When the last time I have, but yes.
Okay, so
I can't even remember my answers.
I'm not going to say them because I don't want to mess them up, but you're going to ask them to
I'm
yourself.
gonna ask myself.
and Danny's going to answer too.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the
that's so
first
good.
I feel
one?
like we should all answer.
Okay,
Yes,
maybe we should all
Group
do it.
event.
So what's the
Okay.
first one?
Okay, so the first one is the 3 things you do on a regular basis that have the biggest positive impact on your health.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to have to say sleep, for one, is probably really big because even through residency and medical training, as Dani knows, I need sleep and I try to protect my sleep. It doesn't always work out, but I've always tried to maximize sleep. And I think that's, the more and more we're learning about sleep, we know it's so critical for our health and our brain development and all of these things. So I would say sleep.
1.
It's so hard to
It's hard to
pick
pinpoint
3, right?
something. I know. You just got to do the one that comes to your head right away.
I would say the next is probably like meaning and purpose for me, like doing things that I feel very passionate about and that I feel like are a part of a bigger purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was sort of a big switch when I started to think more about that. And I think it just makes everything that you do a little bit easier and a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
And we know that that's important for health for long term. That's what, people who live to 100, it's because they have whatever their purpose is, whether it's like going to the market and getting food for their family once a week. It's super cool. And then I think maybe the third one is relationships. So trying to obviously spend a lot of time with Dani and our close family and friends and trying to have really good quality, maybe not quantity, but really good quality relationships.
Well,
I think for me, that's really important.
Those are great 3.
That's beautiful.
How are we going to follow that? How are we going to follow those up, guys?
I don't know.
Jen.
I didn't say anything about exercise or nutrition. Yeah.
Okay, let's go around the table. Jen, you're next.
Yeah, that's hard to follow up.
We
I don't know if I have 3.
That's
Yeah,
right.
let's do it.
For me, probably getting groceries and cooking at home is really important now. I find just mentally, I'm more anxious. I'm not in a good mood if we're having to get processed food more and that sort of stuff. And it's a big thing for me to make sure we both have a lunch for work and that kind of stuff. Just slowing down in general, because I found since medical school, it's just been escalating, and I keep thinking in a few months there'll be a time that we're slower, we slow down, but then you keep saying yes to different things. And so that skill of saying no and recognizing when it's okay to just,
especially when you're an A-type personality and you can, and you can handle it. Like you can actually say yes and follow through. You know?
Yeah. So sleep is probably something I'm going to work on, because that's what I tend to sacrifice, because I say yes to too many things. And then the third thing, relationships too, which, you know, it goes with that slowing down thing. Definitely you tend to put that on the back burner when like work demands come to the forefront.
I love it.
Okay, you're up.
I'm going to steal one from Julie. I mean, sleep. I mean,
you've made a lot of progress in your sleep the last few years.
So you used to not sleep?
No. So this is really sad, pathetic. But like, I was like, oh, Julie, I just feel horrible. You know, I can't really get a lot of sleep. And she's, at one point, maybe a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, she's like, well, you know, you stop breathing in the middle of the night and you snore. What do you think you have? So I got tested for sleep apnea, and if you can see me on the camera, I am not a big guy. But I had like moderate to severe sleep apnea. Oh, wow. And I just expected that like everyone feels really like funny. Crap. You know, when they all the time, I would wake up with like a morning headache. Like
that's so funny.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a CPAP machine, which for all of you guys who are on the fence about getting a sleep study, and I know there's like probably like thousands of guys, a majority of guys, it was life changing. Like it was as if I got smarter overnight. Because it is mind blowing. I was like, I cannot believe, even with like 6 hours of sleep, like 6 hours of sleep with my CPAP machine feels like 10 hours without it. Right. It's just crazy. Like unbelievable. So that was a huge, huge win for me. So getting like really, really good sleep is super, super important for me. I try never to go below 7 hours, just because it has such an impact on how I function, how efficient I am the remainder of the day.
That's huge. Then
the other thing that's perhaps something that I've paid more attention to over since graduating residency, really, because I've had more time, is really, and this is going to get really sappy, but like being more forgiving of myself and like realizing that I'm a work in progress, and that it's not, you don't have to be as perfectionist every single day and not keep, you know, grow every day. Some days are going to suck, and some days you're going to do things that maybe aren't consistent with your goals, and that's okay. But it's all about kind of like forward progress and kind of self-acceptance. And since doing that, I've honestly just been a lot happier.
And it's too hard on yourself before.
Yeah, I was incredibly hard on myself. And, you know, that's, I think, the danger in being so kind of type A. It's like all about growth every single day. If you're not growing, what the hell are you doing?
You just keep pushing that finish line further and further.
And it's, you know, once you do take a step back, again, everything relates back to CrossFit. It's like if you're doing, you know, hard workouts every single day, there's no way you're going to get better. But if you take rest days, amazing what happens. You end up getting way stronger and way faster. And I think it's the same kind of thing for emotions and self-acceptance. And then the last thing I think is really focusing on kind of similar kind of concept, but down-regulating nervous system, like taking time to like do things in sprints, like, you know, working really hard and then taking time to kind of relax and breathe and do a workout or just sit quietly or go for a walk. Really understanding kind of the limitations of your body and your brain and your psyche, and that if you really want to be efficient, you have to, you know, for me, it's those three things. You have to sleep, you have to have a good relationship with yourself, and you have to kind of manage your nervous system.
That's huge.
I love it. I thought you were going to talk about your morning routine, because you've also been working on that.
Oh, yeah.
The morning 5.
At least the morning 5, which you guys did in the airport.
Yes.
That's
in the
so
airport,
cool.
Oh, yeah. So every morning when I wake
shower.
up, if Julie and I are together, if we're separate, we'll do it separately, but we'll do 5 minutes of movement as soon as we get out of bed to kind of prime our bodies for the day. And then I'll immediately jump and do a really, really cold shower to kind of just like shock the system. And
I haven't gotten to the cold
I can't
shower
get on
part
board
yet.
with that.
But now it's kind of problematic because
I tried it.
You get used to it. Like now it's like after you do the shower as cold as it gets, and you're just like, all right.
He wants it colder.
I need it colder. It's like, it doesn't work.
I
Oh my God.
I tried the cold showers. I think I make myself sick.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
got to ease
Weird.
into
It's-
it, man.
You gotta
Yeah, I
maybe
gotta-
there's like a
maybe it's
progression.
yeah.
Maybe I need to follow a progression. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
Scaling.
You can't snatch
Scale
on the first day, bro.
appropriately.
That's true. Yeah, I can't snatch on the first day. We just watched Kim Swims. You've ever seen
No.
that documentary?
No.
Okay, speaking of Netflix, you should go and watch this.
Okay.
Well, she fell asleep. I watched it.
I'm sorry.
But she swims from. She's a marathon swimmer.
Okay.
So she swims all kinds of crazy distances.
Mhm.
But for the really cold ones, she takes these like crazy steps to acclimatize her body
Wow.
to the cold temperatures.
Wow.
Like, well, she gains like 30, 40 pounds.
Wow.
She never for 2 years straight takes a warm shower.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that is
Yeah.
it's not anyway. You remind me.
That
Wow.
is dedication.
It's really
That's cool.
hardcore.
All right, what are yours?
Okay, I'll
Yeah, we're running out of time.
try and go quick here. I floss my teeth twice a day.
Oh yeah,
I
his
like
dentist
that.
scared him recently.
Yeah, my dentist scared me,
Straight.
so I flossed
That's
in the
great.
morning and I floss at night.
Oral health.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna say I'm gonna ride the sleep train because you guys are all talking about it. I also went for a sleep study.
Yeah.
I was
Nice.
convinced he had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Positional,
it's
right?
Positional,
Mild
yeah.
position.
If I
Oh,
sleep
got
on
it.
my
Okay.
stomach,
Okay.
I don't
Got it.
snore. On my back, though, recently I've been able to experiment with that a little bit more because I wear nose strips.
Okay.
Got it.
Open my nostrils.
Yeah.
You do that too?
No.
Okay. Try it.
That sucker just blows air and you're
Yeah.
good.
I think it's
And
placebo.
maybe
The
it's a
nose strip,
placebo.
but-
No, but I also have a night guard because I grind my teeth.
Okay.
And that I think relaxes my jaw and my neck,
Mhm.
and I can sleep better. Anyway, sleep. My sleep
Nice.
quality's gone up through the roof.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And the last thing I'll say is I took Instagram off my phone for the whole summer,
Mm.
Oh, that's amazing.
and I have it back. And I mean I've mixed feelings about social media.
Mhm.
Everyone's gonna make fun of me when they talk
No,
about this
it's
because I
important.
rant once in a while about it.
Yeah.
Rant
But
away.
Love-hate relationship.
Love-hate
It is.
relationship.
Yeah.
I'm like all in on it or absolutely nothing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you know what, taking it completely off my phone, I've never done that before. And
Mhm.
just taking the summer to like just chill
Mhm.
and not ever go on it, it felt really good. And I told Jen this, it gave me an opportunity to reconnect with some people that I
Mhm.
thought I was connecting with through social media, but really I wasn't.
Mhm.
And you just miss out on some conversations, like a like or a comment.
Mhm.
You take that as a connection, but it's really not.
Right. It's just hitting that like reward center of
Yeah,
your brain,
exactly.
But it's not really
yeah,
a human
and then so
connection.
you start thinking about people without social media, and you're
Mhm.
forced to text them or call them,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you have a stronger relationship with
Right.
that person. So
Yeah.
it's made me sort of realize the strength of some relationships that I have and don't have,
Mhm.
and now that I have social media back, I hope I can kind of carry that through for
Mhm.
a little bit longer. But anyway, so those are the
I
three
love
things.
that.
Yeah.
It's
That's
so
super
interesting
cool.
that what we're talking about is all the ingredients for health.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Sleep,
Yeah.
exercise, nutrition, relationships,
That's right,
meaning,
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
It's just like
exactly.
those are the most important things.
It's
That's
so
awesome.
true.
Okay,
So
the
true.
next questions are quicker, right? Because there's
Well, I think we're out of time, so we might have to save those for
Okay.
next episode of the
Okay,
podcast.
next episode. Okay, awesome.
Next
well,
time we all sit down.
it was awesome having you guys on.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much.
you
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Yeah.
This was great.
We'll stay connected. We'll
Yes.
make North America healthier
Yes,
Boom.
That's
I
right.
love it.
Boom.
That's
And
it.
the world.
and the world.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.